Welcome to the Regenerate Your Reality webinar series, all about regeneration in every way. And I'm so excited today because we're going to talk about a subject that I'm very interested in right now because I am pregnant and just about a month from giving birth. And I've been practicing natural remedies, teas, and really tuning into my body and intuition on what my needs are. And so today we're going to dive into natural birth control, natural rhythms, and also natural childbirth and home birthing. So I'm so excited to introduce Lauren Love, who is really a mentor of many women in our community and has two beautiful daughters. So, yeah, Lauren, I'd love to basically learn and for our listeners know a little bit about your background and then about your wise method of birth control, and then dive a little bit into home birthing and any wisdom you want to share with me and others that might catch this replay later. Yeah.
Well, hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a birth keeper here for many years, accompanying women through the whole process before and after, and really just walking alongside the women in our community as much as I can. And a couple of years ago, I really shifted my focus to natural birth control. I started teaching natural birth control in women's circles and events, and I also made like an online course. And what I share is fertility awareness and how to really practice this in our real lives. And I really believe this is like a foundation to our wisdom as women, is to understand our own bodies and our own cycles and how our fertility works. I suffered a lot from hormonal birth control in my 20s. And I also had no idea how getting pregnant even works. Like, I thought, anytime a man inside a woman, you get pregnant. And that's just not the case. We're fertile for like 5 or 6 days a month. And our body speaks to us in ways that are crystal clear to understand that. So I teach how to understand your body in this way, how to use natural plants, herbs, options, masculine empowerment. This is kind of what I like to share with people. And a couple of years ago, well, more like 4 or 5 years ago, I started using a natural cream that I had discovered. And it was made from all plant extracts and minerals, and it's got no smell or hormones or anything. And you put a little bit inside before penetration, and it stops the sperm. So this cream is now called Wise Women's Choice, and its formula was passed down to me a couple years ago by a now 101-year-old Harvard scientist. And we began producing it here. My partner's a chemist, and so now I'm really focusing on sharing this with the world, along with my course, which is the Wise Women's Choice Guide to Natural Birth Control. But today, Jean and I wanted to get together for me to share what I call just a sacred birth preparation. And I have had two home births here in Costa Rica, and they were both glorious. They were both, intense, it's giving birth, but I really had quite psychedelic experiences in both of them, quite holy experiences. Both of them were the best ceremony of my life. And yeah, I feel like I have a really special gift to about giving birth. And I've also been able to help a lot of women in their processes also. So this is just a little bit about what I like to share. Some of it's about preparing yourself before, and some of it's about the actual labor. So yeah, one thing I like to share with pregnant mothers in general is that even if you were wanting your baby in this process of pregnancy, it is very normal to freak out and think you don't actually want to be pregnant, and all the painful and scary emotions that can come along with this. Many of us weren't planning on getting pregnant, and some of us were and thought that's what we wanted, and yet we still have a really deep process about it. And I just want to speak to this because we all go through it, and you need to know that you're not alone. It's totally normal, and that this process of pregnancy is it's your healing process too. It's your birthing process too. And working through these fears and these emotions is part of this initiation. So, yeah, I mean, as soon as you get pregnant, you have to really shift into giving yourself grace for the huge range of emotions and hormones and feelings and fears that you're having. And then learning how to give yourself grace and take care of yourself with the loving care of a mother through your whole pregnancy. Um, yeah, so many of us are still working really hard through our whole pregnancy and super busy. And I think that, you know, I would like to share a call to women to slow down and to work as little as possible during pregnancy and hopefully the early years of your kid, because we're taught that it has to be this way, but really we have thousands of different possibilities of how we can live. And when I became pregnant, we made the choice that we were going to go to Costa Rica and raise our kids, and we didn't know how. And yet, step by step, now 10 years later, everything's been fine, and I've been able to devote myself to my kids. Yes, I do work, and we've done this dance of how do we also offer our service to the world and receive, what we need to live and everything. But I really believe that when you make these decisions, that all of reality, all of the universe conspires to help you. And one thing we have to realize about, women, pregnant women, women opening up to bring a child to this planet is that we get special care from the universe. So it's a really beautiful time to open up to more grace coming into your life, because you're going to need it to give birth. You're going to need to become a mom. And there's a really special grace that can come to us during pregnancy. And it calls us to go inside, to actually sit with ourselves in nature as much as we can, to connect with our breathing and practice breathing more deeply, to connect with our bodies. Like, how is our connection with our hips? Like you're doing these birth ball movement every day, like everyday movement, every day connecting with your body, not because you have to work out or you're going to get fat in this pregnancy, but because you want to connect with your body. Because we've been living these busy, busy lives, and so few of us are fully embodied. And the way to become fully embodied is to connect with your body. I also think that nature can be a huge part of this, being with the elements, the fire, the sunshine, the river, the trees. This is all meant to heal our being if we can slow down and be with it. And then slowing down and doing like the journaling or the thinking or the processing that you need to do to where you feel like you can go into birth and say yes to it. Because, we can have to work through, oh, I'm afraid to become a mother. I'm afraid to let the mating go. I'm afraid of the pain. I'm afraid, I'm going to lose everything I love in my life, and it's just going to be about being a mom. I'm afraid I won't like my kid. And this pregnancy is our time to work through these things and to open up and say, like, I'm opening up to bring this baby to the earth. I'm opening up, like talking to your body. So like our bodies are so much water, and water responds to our words, to vibration. So how can you set yourself up for an awesome birth? You can tune yourself, and speak to your body as you prepare. So along with moving your body, moving your hips, breathing when you move, and just making this a daily practice, it can be 3 minutes a day, but that you make an offering to yourself and to this baby, that you're giving yourself love in all these different ways. Movement is one of them, practicing your breath, nourishing yourself with foods you love and that make you feel good, the nature. These are all little ways in which you're strengthening yourself, in which you're giving yourself love, in which you're intentionally opening your heart, opening your womb, connecting with your body. But one of the ways we can do this is speaking to your body. So like through my pregnancies and birth, I become a such deeper friend with my body, and I love her so much more. And I really started connecting with her, knowing like, I'm going to need you to work with me. When I was pregnant with my first daughter, and I would be like, thank you, womb. I love you so much. Thank you for holding my baby. Thank you, yoni, and you can make yourself a yoni massage with oil. This is a great thing to be doing. Just, it's nice to just give pressure to both sides of the vaginal lips, like work the tension out, because we can carry so much tension here, and we're in a process of opening, even way before labor, we're in a process of opening. So the more we can honor and give love to this process, the easier we're going to go through this portal with less resistance. So, so yeah, touching yourself, getting in touch with your yoni in this way, giving yourself pleasure and speaking to her, speaking to your womb, speaking to your hips. I love you. Thank you that you're going to open beautifully when my baby's coming out. Thank you that you love me too and you're going to work with me. I want to give you pleasure during this experience. You deserve all my love. Like connect with her with love. And yeah, you can also speak with your baby because your baby can recognize your voice inside. And you can say, "Oh, I'm so excited. We're going to go through this portal together. It might feel scary, but mommy's right here with you the whole time. I'm going to be right with you." You can make sure to have your head tucked and your arms at your sides, and you can help me so much like this. You know, I talk to my babies like this, help them to understand that you're working together and you're holding them through this process. You can talk to anybody's spirit. So even if they don't hear and translate perfectly what you're saying in English or whatever language, you can connect with their spirit and have this conversation of, I'm going to hold you through this. We're going to do it. It's going to be awesome. It's so beautiful here. We can't wait to receive you, you know? And yeah, surrounding yourself with beauty in your pregnancy and your birthing experience. So much is stolen from us in birth through the hospital environment of bright lights, of people interrupting you, of them forcing you to be in an uncomfortable position. And that's not to mention all the obstetrical violence. So, I mean, one of the very most important things in preparing to have a home birth is having someone who can attend you at home that you feel comfortable with and who will allow your birth to be led by you. Because during birth, you're the one who knows what's wrong or not. You're the one who is navigating what's happening, and an outside voice can be there to help you guide energy, to help support you, to help support bodily processes to move it along. But in birth, the most empowered birth is the one that you take responsibility for and you come into your power during. And that doesn't mean it might not be hard for you, but that means that you're owning it and that you're not looking for somebody else to tell you what you need to do. It's really important to educate yourself about birth and the process so you can understand more about what's happening to you. So I'm just speaking, you may know this, you may not. I'm just going to speak really basically from kind of level one about just the process of birth. Our labor, everybody, I would always be like, what does it feel like? And nobody can tell me. But I think the best way I can describe it is that it feels like a mild menstrual cramp coming on, and you're like, okay. And then it goes, and then it comes again, and you may have this for, weeks even before pregnancy, and it'll stop. But the way you know if you're in true labor is if these feelings that feel like menstrual cramps get more and more close together and more intense. So this is the beginning of your labor, and you don't need to have your midwife or your doctor come right away. You could labor for many hours before you call them. You can let them know, but you don't necessarily need somebody there your whole time. You may want to have a doula or a friend to be with you. You may want, but I find that it can also be a really beautiful time of intimacy with your partner before it gets really intense. So the energy in labor is working in several different ways throughout the labor. So the first, usually what we know is like the longer portion of labor, is when you're opening, you're dilating. So as your baby descends, their head is pressing on your cervix, and this causes this cascade of hormones and later on opiates, natural opiates in your body that make the process happen. So you want to welcome these contractions, or we can call them rushes when they come, like, thank you. And instead of tensing the body because it can feel intense and it will continue to get more intense, you want to work on being as relaxed as possible. You want your jaw relaxed, and you can help your jaw to be relaxed through sound. So during the opening phase is when we want to work with sound because we're opening. So the more we can keep our jaw open and use low sounds, the more we can connect with our inner animal. The more we can become comfortable with making sound and not be like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, am I disturbing? because we're trained to be so sorry all the time as women. Unapologetically making the noise that you need to in birth and focusing on keeping a low sound, because the low sound will keep the jaw open. And when our jaw is open, the more we do this in birth, the more fatigued the uterus can become. And this translates into pain. It doesn't have to be like that. The contractions could be 5 or 10 minutes apart. In the middle, you can rest, you can sleep, you can move, you can dance, you can let your body go limp. And that will allow the blood to flow where it needs to flow to replenish your uterus. Excuse me, I'm a little sick. So during this long period of labor while you're opening, you don't need a bunch of internal exams. It doesn't help. You can just let this process happen. It's important to stay hydrated. The best thing to do is when you feel yourself going into labor, eat a big protein-rich meal, because that's going to mostly carry you through the birth. I also recommend having like little bites of frozen fruit already prepared, pipa coconut water, juices, and honey on hand, because you want to keep your blood sugar like alive. You can go for a really long time in labor. If you have some sugar in your blood, that's going to give you energy for the work of birth. So yeah, you're going to want to move through this time and not let these contractions get stuck in your body or tense up. So there's a few different ways that I like to move, and you should just listen to how your body wants to move. But when I first felt the lighter contractions coming on, I really like to navigate them like swaying back and forth. And the low sound that I like to use is Om. You can chant Om, and this brings in like a sacred vibration, order. And the most powerful thing that it did for me was it freed my mind from having fearful thoughts, because I couldn't think fearful thoughts when I'm going, ah. So you can probably feel a shift even just with that one because it brings in a harmonious vibration. And so with Ellie's birth, I did this the whole time, and it brought in so much harmony and no room for the fearful thought. So swaying back and forth is awesome when they're not so heavy. When the rushes become heavier, it's nice to like lean over a bed or a table or something, and then you can sway your hips back and forth like this. So you can be moving your hips back and forth, and your partner can be really supporting you really nicely in this position. He can put pressure on both sides of your hips. That can feel really nice. If you want to be touched, you might not want to be touched. And one thing that I love to do in labor is have a glass of ice water with a straw, and your partner can drip ice cold water down your spine. I find that when you can create a contrast of strong sensations in the body during labor, it can take the focus off of your pelvis and bring it onto your spine, and you're like awakening, and it's making you feel alive, and you're moving the energy, and it's not necessarily feeling so intense right here. So I love that. Another thing that can be great for your partner to do is pull your hair, and like he's going to want to grab a lot of it and pull strong. So it doesn't hurt, but it creates a strong sensation up here that will move the energy out of your pelvis. So sometimes you feel like it's about to explode. It's so intense, and that can be painful, or you can, take a deep breath, bring the energy up, and it'll help distribute the energy in your body, if that makes sense. So those are some things that are awesome. Your doula or your husband or partner can also grab onto your legs and shake them. You can be sitting down during a contraction, and you can shake them, and that can help get out tension too. But then it's getting more intense and more intense. So Another position that I like to use when it's really intense while I'm still in the opening is banging on the floor and hands and knees. So you can bang on the floor, you make your noises, breathe. Um, this was nicer for when it's more intense for me. But the birth ball can be a good tool. Hanging from anything that you can pull on can be really helpful. And dancing, dancing, moving your hips, circling your hips. Another thing that can be really valuable is in the early stages, labor can be, I'm just getting some more tea here. In the early stages, labor can be quite mild and the contractions can be a good, times apart. So you can take a walk. You can also make love because that's releasing tons of oxytocin, and that's helping your cascade of hormones tremendously, helping you get in a feel good space. um, and there's something called prostaglandins in the semen that help ripen the cervix, which means makes it easier to open. So that can be really nice. You can share like loving touch and making out. And I really like to be kissed on the neck during labor, And so you'll go through this process. Your water could break at any time. And this generally makes it more intense because the baby's no longer held in the sac. He's more engaged, which is making it happen. One thing to make sure of in labor also is to make sure you're peeing because a full bladder will block the descent and the progression of labor. And if this goes on too long, you start losing energy and you haven't eaten longer, haven't slept longer. So it's something to be mindful of. Okay, so labor is getting more and more intense. If your water breaks, great, don't freak out. I experienced a lot of pleasure with my water breaking. And like with my last birth, this was the time in which I like touched myself and I was alone for a minute and it was so juicy and amazing and I loved this. And then that helped take me into the more intense part. So you're opening and you can think of like a lotus blooming, in your pelvis, in your vagina. This is a nice imagery to work with also. And then we go through what's called transition. So I always throw up and shake during transition. I think it's my body just emptying before I need to push. And I can become really weak. But then you regain your strength. And not every woman does that. It's different for everybody, but you do kind of go into like a trippy realm. And it's kind of like a dreamy space. And they say that this is when the mom goes and brings the baby spirit back to bring home. And yeah, it's a really good like moment to regain your composure. It could be like an hour. You could like have a pipa in your birth pool. You can whatever. But it's kind of like just this openness and this time. And then the pushing part happens and you don't want to start pushing too early because you want to allow yourself to fully open and your body's going to know when to push. You can talk to your provider if you're unsure, like, should I push? And they'll probably tell you to push no matter what. But you're going to know when to push, like, and it's not the same for every woman, but for me, the feeling of the labor went from being like stronger and stronger menstrual cramps to then I had this floaty transition. And then like with my first daughter, then it felt like there was an energy inside my body going, but like really strong. And then so what I'm trying to say is that during pushing, the contractions get way stronger to help you. But it's really important to catch your breath between each contraction, to relax your body and your jaw as much as you can, just going limp. And then you're going to feel it coming on. You're going to get a big breath. And instead of sounding during these contractions, you're not going to let this energy out your mouth. You're going to focus the energy down. So you can create like a bandha. This is like a yogic lock with your throat. So you take in a big breath and then you close your throat like this. And this will help for you to push the energy down. And you can think of like you're having a hard poop that you're trying to ease out because you want to ease out their head because the head will mold to your yoni and your yoni will expand for the head. And giving it time will help you not to have big tears. And don't be afraid of tears. If you do tear, you don't really feel it. You just feel it as part of everything and it'll heal really nicely. And I know a big fear of mine and a lot of my friends was like, is my yoni gonna be okay again? And like almost everybody I know likes their yoni more after giving birth, even if they tore or whatever. Because if you tear, all that has to happen is the skin come back together. It could be on a couple of layers, but with home birth, it almost never happens that it's a deeper tear. It's very rare. Um, so you'll heal super nice, but you can help that whole thing by easing out the head and making sure your provider also maybe knows ahead of time not to be yelling at you like push push unless it's an emergency and like let you do it. Um so yeah, really key to not let the energy out. One thing that can help for pushing is you can pull on something. So you could have a towel between you and your partner and you can pull when you're pushing. This will help open you below and then they can be pulling back with all their might. Um so that's a really good one. And then the thing to carry you through this whole thing that we haven't touched on yet is breath. So there's a breath in yoga called the Ujjayi breath. It's 4 counts in the nose and 4 counts out the nose. This can carry you through your whole birth. It'll help keep your body oxygenated, you relax, awesome. So just
Yeah, I love Ujjayi breathing.
yeah. And if you can practice this, if you can practice this before you're giving birth, better because then you'll just naturally do it.
Yeah.
And it can look like sitting 1 minute a day to practice. It doesn't have to be like a big commitment.
Yeah.
But then it can become normal to you. So there's also another kind of breath that's like in and out the mouth, and it's like a short, shallow breath. You can also use this to navigate you through times when you don't feel like taking a big breath or when you feel like it might be helpful. My teacher Anita always says that this is a really good one in birth, just this shallow breathing. So you can practice that also and have it in your tool belt, if it feels natural. Um, yeah, the most important thing is just like being connected with your breath during this process and making sure you're breathing deeply. Like I said, especially when it gets intense, you don't have to really do anything. The more you can surrender in birth, your body will it will be like the spirit of God moving through you, or goddess, whatever, like it will move through you, the birth. And the more you can breathe, smile, enjoy, relax fully, the more it will be easy. The more the energy can move through. Because like so much cosmic energy is going through you, you don't believe. And the less like this or freaked out or like, oh my God, it hurts. Okay, whoa, it's intense. Okay, I'm breathing, it's coming on. Like flow with it, like surf it like it's waves. And also, it's so mental too. It can be like, this is the most horrible thing ever, or you can be like, okay, I'm gonna get off on this. I am going to get off on this pain. I am having like a BDSM thing with God. Like, because I'm not really like deep into BDSM, okay? But I think that there are thresholds with both pleasure and pain that can take us into psychedelic experience or like encounter with God, basically, or our higher self, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like the pain in birth isn't meant to hurt us, that it's an invitation to like let ourselves be pushed past this threshold that we can feel closer to God, like your spirit explode. You can be in the stars, you can receive insight, you can, I don't know, it's like you're on the verge of life and death somehow, and it's a very trippy place, and you can enjoy the hell out of it. And yeah, like I always thought of orgasmic birth like I'm looking for this clitoral orgasm that's gonna like explode. But really I realized that wow, I had like so much pleasure in both of my births that this is the potential of orgasmic birth. It's not just like an explosion of pleasure at one point, With my first birth, I tried to rub my clit when she was coming out to see if I could like make it feel good and like make an orgasm. But then I realized like, no, you're invited to be in like this deep pleasure portal of like an ongoing, deeper, like more vaginal like orgasm off and on throughout your whole birth. And that takes opening and trusting God and trusting your body, and yeah, like if you're out there and you are going into birth and you're like, wow, I haven't dealt with all my fears. I haven't, prepared mentally enough. Like just know that that's okay. And that this pressure, this process of birth, it's so much bigger than us. And all we need to do is breathe and surrender, and work with our bodies. And you can do it. Like, even if you don't feel like you're fully prepared, like in this moment, God is with you. In the moment of your birth, God is with you. And your higher self is with you. And hopefully people you love are with you. And you have what it takes to go through this portal. So yeah, when you're pushing, it's like the head coming out is like you're at the very top of the mountain. And as soon as you push the head out, it's like all downhill from there. And in this moment, it's really helpful to have like an affirmation. I think of it as like something to grab onto to help you get over the mountain, because you can start freaking out because it's the most intense part. Like, it could hurt. There's something called the ring of fire that happens to some women. It can also feel good. Some women have incredible orgasm during this time. The more open and relaxed we can be, the more potential we can, see what's out there to experience of that. But yeah, like grabbing onto affirmation, like my first birth, I think I was thinking like every woman ever has done this. It's so can I, and like, but whatever it is for you, like I'm powerful and I birth in pleasure and ease, whatever it is, or just one line that can just help you get over the hump. And then once you're there, your baby comes right out really easily afterwards, generally. And the placenta might take time, but that comes out too. It's like jelly, so it's not hard. So yeah, the head's really the hard part. The rest is like breathe and move. And I think that being in a favorable position can help getting the head out so much also. I was on my knees in the shower with my last baby, and that was really awesome. I could feel her come down. It was just really favorable. You can be squatting. You can have two chairs open, and you can be sitting on the chairs with open between you. Hands and knees is good. Birthing on your side, laying down. Somebody can help hold your leg if you want. That's a little bit more complicated. If you're in the birth pool, you can just sit. But I feel like sitting wasn't as advantageous as being on my knees. And squatting or holding on to something, pulling it while you squat, because the squatting opens your pelvis like 30%. And so does hands and knees. So that has to make it easier. Um, but yeah, this is basically it, like the preparing beforehand, which I know you've done, and you're like in such harmony with yourself and all that is. So I know that your birth's going to be really beautiful, but these are just little things that are so simple but can make it easier, just to be mindful of totally relaxing, or be mindful of bringing in pleasure, be mindful of peeing, um and yeah, set up your space beautifully. It's your ceremony, like lights and beauty and flowers and music, and can just make it so special and so sacred. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And yeah, I'm excited for this beautiful birth portal and ceremony of life. And I really resonate with just taking it slow. And throughout my pregnancy, I have really taken it slow and tuned into when I need a nap. And every week is so different. I mean, throughout, I feel like I had the most cravings my first trimester and was the most tired. And then I got burst of energy in my second. And now my cravings are like cold things like popsicles. I've been making popsicles like crazy because it just cools me down,
Nice.
right? And it's sweet and it's just fruit. I'm making like creamsicles with coconut cream and fruit. And so I can imagine like I'm gonna need popsicles
Epic.
during my birthing. And I also, it sounds weird,
Yeah.
but
Genius.
ice. I get
Yeah.
ice and it cools me like instantly. And then I chew on it and I'm like, wow, this is so weird, but it feels good. So I could imagine the putting ice on, on my body and then like chewing it, it just cools you down and different sensation.
Totally.
So I feel,
Yeah, a cool washcloth is also good. Putting it on your back and stuff through the labor. This is helpful.
yeah. And I've been really blessed through my pregnancy to not have to, go into work. I work for myself, and have been creating this lifestyle for myself to really bring in the next generation and to shift really the paradigm on what work and passions and play all look like as a dance together. So yeah, my morning routines have been just waking up, making tea, going for now. Our neighbors aren't there right now, so they have a little trail to a yoga shala with a little view, and it's an easy
Nice.
walk. It's a really easy walk for me because all the other roads and trails around us don't have rocks, and I like to be alone in nature, but I also already feel that motherly instinct of protecting myself from slipping, or it's rainy season here, so yeah, it's a short walk, but just moving a little bit, getting out alone, and then there's a tree that I've been just praying with, and yeah, just receiving the root wisdom of of that beautiful grandmother tree, and then coming back and doing my birth ball and making my whatever I want for breakfast. And yeah, and that's kind of been my start to my days in my pregnancy, and it's felt so nice. And I just got a journal. I used to journal all the time, but I'm always in phases as a writer. I'm like, yes, I'm in that journaling phase. I'm just expressing in other creative outlets. But I just started a new chapter in my in my journal, and also my art doodle pad where I just like to doodle, and so yeah, it feels like a big new chapter in life, and I'm excited for the initiation of the birth portal. And I think that so many women, who have to work all the time, really do. Hola, hola. Oh, what a beauty. Hi.
She just woke up and walked on out.
Oh, and how old is she now?
Like a year and 2 months.
Okay, so let's see it. You want to see this baby?
Look, she's bringing a friend for you.
I'm making a friend. It's just about a
She's
month
bringing.
away. Yeah, they'll be friends. A year isn't so
Yeah.
much apart. So yeah, I feel like so much of pregnancy, we were really calling it in, and calling in the star child, and we were ready. We were preparing many years and trying not to have babies for many years through the whole fertility awareness method. And so just feels like divine time. And I think by really making a child out of love is a really beautiful frequency that I'm excited to bring into this earth. And yeah, I really appreciate your wisdom today, and this baby that is here, the star child in front of me. And yeah, there's so many beautiful examples of how we can really shift the paradigm on regenerating our relationship with birth and death, and how transitions work, and shifting into different cycles in seasons in our life, and slowing down. And my parents throughout my childhood would shift. They would switch back and forth of who was taking more of the who's taking the lead on providing. Sometimes my mother would be in this cycle of like a big abundance, and my dad would pull back his hours and work to be with us more. And so it's just a beautiful dance to really regenerate our relationship with birth and parenting and motherhood, and doing it the natural way with the cycles and rhythms of the earth. Oh, so yeah, I appreciate your wisdom. And I'm just seeing if I have any questions that arise. I feel like, it's going to be what it is going to be. And I like the different breathing techniques. I have been practicing yoga for 12 years and meditation. So I feel like that will be a very powerful tool to bring into this birth experience and
Yeah, you're gonna do great. You're gonna do you're gonna love it. You
yeah.
know frog pose?
Yeah.
That's a great one to just hang out in for your hip opening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of
Yeah,
modified.
your ligaments get really loose right now. You're gonna get really flexible like the next few weeks.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I already feel the opening. My hips have kind of expanded a little bit more. Um, yeah, I can go all the way down in my squats. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Um, I felt like there was a little cycle in the middle of my pregnancy where I felt a little less flexible. Like I couldn't go all the way down in my squats or, my heels were up. And now I'm like, wow, I am getting more open. I'm opening, I'm surrendering to this opening. Um, yeah, I know you wanted to share a song. Do you have a song you want to share?
Yeah, sure. I'll sing a song for you for your birth about your strength.
Okay.
Nace la fuerza desde bien adentro, lo fondo de mis venas, poco mis ancestros. Nace la fuerza desde bien adentro, lo fondo de mis venas, invoco mis ancestros. Gira, 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 respira. Sangre de mis venas transforma ideas. Gira, 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 respira. Sangre de mis venas transforma ideas. Renace la fuerza desde bien adentro, del fondo de mis venas, con mis ancestros. Nace la fuerza desde bien adentro, del fondo de mis venas, con mis ancestros.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, all our ancestors, and we were a seed in our grandmother's womb. And yeah, I love that the the whole metaphor of the seed and the strength of all the women that have been before us, walked before us. And I really appreciate your wisdom and feel like part of regenerating our relationship with all regenerating in all ways is regenerating our relationship with birth and natural ways and surrendering to that. And it's been a beautiful cycle of life for me, I know, and so many other women and in this community and all over the world of taking back our inner power, right? And knowing that we intuitively are animals. Like here in near Uvita, the whales come to birth their babies. They know where to go to birth their babies, and they are animals instinctually birthing the babies in this special place every year. So it's like the animals, we are animals, and have an inner knowing without needing to know anything. So yeah, I really appreciate you and all the work that you do in the world. And yeah, you can find Lauren at Wise Woman, or what's your What's your
My Instagram is womb rewilded, and you can also check out our natural birth control cream on wisewomenschoice.com
amazing?
or mujersabia.com for Spanish.
Right. Oh yeah, I'll link it. I'll be posting this. Yeah, when I'm back from the birth portal, I'm going to be taking sacred pause, and when I come back, I will post this replay for everyone to enjoy the wisdom shared here. And yeah, lots of love to you, and may we regenerate in all ways and be the seeds of change, and yeah, be the change we want to see in the world. And a lot of that, it's starting with how we birth our children. So
absolutely. Amen. Amen.